shouldn't fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the pain. Go away.
Well, what we're doing is working with all responsible delivery partners in Scotland, as I've said, and the Community Renewal Fund will be an example of real devolution at work. We will be working with local communities, with local authorities, ensuring that the projects respond to the local wishes and meet local needs.
That is said to David Mundell. David.
Mr. Speaker, lasting prosperity requires successful business people. And sadly, my constituency in Scotland lost one of our finest examples on Monday, when Alistair Houston, the entrepreneurial chairman of the Gretna Green Group and leading figure in Scottish tourism and agriculture, lost his long battle with cancer at the age of only 59. Alistair will be remembered not just for his own zest for life and the transformational impact he had on his own businesses in the Gretna area, but also for his passion for the Star of Caledonia, an iconic environmental structure being built on the Scotland-England border that will surely be his lasting legacy. Will my right honourable friend join me in paying tribute to our friend Alistair's many achievements, but also agree with me that whatever form the Shared Prosperity Fund takes, it should reflect his spirit and support inspirational projects such as the Star?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I join my right honourable friend in paying tribute to my close friend, Alistair Houston, and I send my deep sympathies to his family. Ali was a proud Scot. He was a lover of Dumfries and Galloway. He was a formidable champion for Gretna and his hometown, and that Star of Caledonia would be a very fitting tribute to him. And Mr. Speaker, he will be missed by many.
Wendy Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Myself and other UK Government ministers are in regular contact with the Scottish Government and other devolved administrations to try and secure the harmonisation, particularly of COVID-19 guidance when it comes to regulations on international travel, while at the same time, of course, respecting devolved competence in matters such as public health.
Wendy Chamberlain.
Mr. Speaker, golf tourism plays a major part in the local economy of North East Fife, particularly as St Andrews is the home of golf. There's a whole ecosystem built up around golf tourism, including accommodation, hospitality and inbound tour operators. The majority of these tourists come from North America, who then travel to other golf courses around the UK, and there are concerns over the incoherent travel rules between the four nations or restrictions within the four nations deterring those visitors. So can I therefore ask the Secretary of State to outline what steps he is taking to reach that consensus, particularly in relation to the US?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Lady for her question. It's a very pertinent one, not just for golf tourism, whisky tourism, I mean tourism in general across Scotland. And the UK Government is committed to full alignment with the devolved administrations, because we recognise the importance of that alignment for public compliance, as well as business confidence and for tourism. And we share the data we've created, and we've created the structures to make that happen. But we also respect the right of the devolved administrations to make their own decisions in devolved matters. But thankfully, the differences in the exemptions, particularly with regards to international travel, are not currently that material and can be justified as legitimate differences. But I do take on board the comments she made about the specific golf tourism.
Mr. Speaker. This morning we heard that as a direct result of the baffling and inconsistent travel ban placed on Scots going to Greater Manchester, EasyJet have cancelled their newly announced route from Aberdeen to Manchester, putting at risk many jobs in the northeast of Scotland. Can I ask what work is being done? Can I beg the Minister and the Scotland Office to work to ensure that when it comes to international travel and reopening, the same rules and regulations will apply around the entirety of the UK, instead of leaving its Scottish aviation sector and the thousands of people it employs at the mercy of a Scottish government who've completely abandoned.
Waste of time. Boris Johnson is like too loud or something.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend. My honourable friend and I share a lot in common, not least the regular use of Aberdeen
I don't know what to build.
which he refers.
I want to do like some crazy custom coaster or something. Oh, there's one thing I do have to do. I need to just like
unfortunately haven't been able to visit the family
test this
for
real
the last
quick.
year and a half. But that aside, on the specific issue around EasyJet and the flight to Manchester, they have made a commercial decision announced today in response to the Scottish Government's decision to prohibit travel to Manchester. This has been widely criticised as disproportionate, and clearly Scottish Government ministers
I might do a dive
will
coaster
travel
actually.
Regulations under constant
I've
review.
never done a dive coaster
And there are
before.
clearly calls, particularly for this particular regulation, to be reviewed and in closer consultation with all interested parties. And the Scotland Office would be happy to facilitate that if helpful.
Talk about a single approach. If we cast our minds back just a couple of months ago, travellers from India into Scotland faced managed hotel quarantine, whereas the same travellers into England did not. And the consequences of that inaction are clear for all to see, with the Delta variant now dominant right across the UK. So I ask the Minister, does he regret the damage caused to Scotland's COVID-19 recovery as a result of his government's failure to follow Scotland's lead?
Mr. Speaker, what I regret is, particularly considering the honourable gentleman's constituency, is that the Scottish Government did not, despite the repeated calls from the oil and gas industry, from MSPs, from MPs from the northeast of Scotland, like himself, or at least representing the same constituents in the northeast of Scotland, to not give the same allowance for oil and gas workers from Amber List countries that was allowed to them by the rest of the UK.
Mark Fletcher.
16, Mr. Speaker.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I'll answer questions 16, 18 and 19 together. The value and strength of the Union has never been more important or more apparent. The United Kingdom Government has supported all parts of the UK during the pandemic. That includes the furlough scheme, which at its peak supported nearly 1 million jobs in Scotland, the help of our fantastic military, and the UK-wide vaccination programme, which means that we can now see light at the end of the tunnel. Mr. Speaker, the UK Government will lead our recovery from the pandemic, investing in communities right across the United Kingdom, getting young people into jobs and improving connectivity between all parts of our country.
The UK Government has been unwavering in supporting Scotland through the pandemic, from providing £14.5 billion in additional Barnett funding to protecting nearly 900,000 jobs through our furlough scheme. Does my right honourable friend agree that this shows that how the UK Government and the Treasury has protected lives and livelihoods across every part of this country?
Well, I absolutely agree with my honourable friend. The support provided by the broad shoulders of the United Kingdom Treasury is staggering and simply unprecedented in peacetime. And Mr. Speaker, in addition, there are jobs being supported by furlough, an extra £14.5 billion provided to the Scottish Government through Barnett funding, and I point out that 530,000 claims have been made in Scotland under the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme, which so far totals around £1.5 billion.
12 withdrawn, we go to Mark Harper.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Isn't it the case that the success of our vaccine programme, which was a combination of successful UK government procurement and then a NHS rollout in the individual nations of the United Kingdom, a fantastic example of the two governments in Scotland, the UK government and the Scottish government working together, exactly what we should see in the future. It's the strength of our union, and that's what we should fight to keep in place.
Well, I absolutely agree with my right honourable friend. The vaccine programme has been a huge success, and it was UK-wide procurement delivering vaccines on a UK-wide basis.
Right, let's go to Peter Gibson. Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The A68 links Darlington with Edinburgh and serves as an economic and cultural link between England and Scotland. Does my right honourable friend agree that we should be celebrating and strengthening the connections between our two nations? And will he lend his support to the improvements to this artery in my constituency
What would it be?
as a means of strengthening our precious union?
I'd say B&M, but I'd say more specifically probably B&M inverts. I like inverts. They're really
And it is
really
vital
fun to
that we
build.
have good connectivity between all parts of the United Kingdom. Sir Peter Hendy in his review is looking at how we can improve this, and he'll publish his report later this year. But I must say, and I put it on record again, I was disappointed that the Scottish Government told their civil servants not to engage in this work, because as ever, they want to put a grievance ahead of improving Scotland's economy.
SNP spokesperson, Murray Black.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague, the member for Edinburgh East, successfully pursued a 2-year campaign calling on this government to publish the results of the secret polling they commissioned using public funds to ask people in Scotland how they feel about the Union. So can the Minister confirm that this information will be published in the next 3 weeks, as the Tribunal has ordered the UK government to do?
Well, as the Honourable Lady
Yo, what's up,
makes a
Bling?
point that is one for the
Just the
Cabinet Office to
government,
answer, but the Cabinet Office are
government
very
thing,
clear that
questions
they
or whatever
do
it
not
is.
spend money on political polling or research.
Murray Black.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll move on from that rather bizarre answer, because today we learned that the UK government have actually used emergency COVID funds to publicly fund further polls on the Union in a contract given to close associates of the Duchy of Lancaster. So would the Minister say that this is an appropriate use of emergency funds, and will he back the SNP's calls for an inquiry into this misuse of funds?
Well, again, I say that you should get Cabinet Office questions asking the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster to answer for his department. But I've spoken to the Cabinet Office about this. They don't engage in political polling, and they're very clear about that.
Brendan Noha.
This government plans to strengthen the union first, sell out the fishing industry, and then trade Scotland's farmers. So can the Secretary of State explain
Does that even
how
look
the
good?
Australian trade deal, which allows the UK market to be flooded with thousands of tons of cheap factory
what
farmed
the
inferior quality beef and lamb, is the golden opportunity that Prime Minister promised, and how will it help Scottish
It
farmers?
doesn't need to be that
business?
far out, would it?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the SNP have never found a trade deal that they like. Well, I'm going to answer the question very clearly. You voted against or abstained on all trade deals in the European Parliament. The one we've just done with the European Union, you're an isolationist party, and the reality on the Australia trade deal is it's upholding
I'm not bothered
animal
about the whole
welfare
Scottish
standards.
independence
Under
thing.
the World
I
Health
want to
Organisation
listen to
on
him
animal
talk about
welfare,
COVID.
Australia gets 5 out of 5. We have safeguards in place to stop the market being flooded with beef or any collapse in price. We are very clear that this leads us in, we will protect our farmers, and this leads us in to the CPTPP, the Trans-Progressive Partnership, worth £9 trillion. That will be a huge win for our farmers, and all members of the farming community I've spoken to understand that. So see the big picture and understand that we're not going to reduce our animal welfare standards, we're not going to flood the market, and you will be seen very clearly in a few years' time to have tried wolf.
Before we get underway, I'd like to
Can I
point
adjust the
out that
speed of
British Sign
this?
Language interpretation of the Prime Minister's question is available
Can't
to
adjust
watch
the
on the
speed of
Parliament
it.
live TV.
Goes in way too quick.
Questions to Prime Minister. I start with John Stevenson.
Come on, right, man.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, today marks 5 years since this country voted to leave the European Union. It has allowed us to take back control of the issues that matter to the people of the United Kingdom. It has given us the freedom to establish 8 free ports across the country, driving new investment, to develop the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, to protect and invest in jobs and renewal across every part of the UK, to control our immigration system, and to sign a historic trade deal with Australia. It will allow us to shape a better future for our people. Mr. Speaker, over 5.6 million EU citizens have already applied to our EU settlement scheme.
You know, for someone in power, he literally has no idea what he's talking about, does he?
Still be eligible to apply ahead of the deadline next week. Mr. Speaker, this week is Armed Forces Week, and I'm sure colleagues from across the House will wish to join me in thanking our fantastic armed forces and their families for their service to our country. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others in addition to my duties in this House. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Mr. Speaker, Prime Minister, we are to host COP26. Our goal is net zero by 2050. To achieve that target,
fucking net zero, you're talking bollocks,
a free
I
market
swear.
approach would help. Therefore,
Net zero, it's bollocks, it's all bollocks.
For all new residential builds, we immediately create a large market. It will lead to innovation, lower prices, job creation, and contribute towards our 2050 target. Will the Prime Minister support such a policy initiative?
Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend makes a very interesting suggestion, which I will certainly look into, though I should caution that some homes don't have enough space on their roof, or indeed have their roofs angled at in the right way to make solar panels viable. But what we are already doing is tightening our standards to ensure that new homes produce at least 75% lower CO2 emissions compared to current standards, on our way to net zero by 2050.
Let's go to
Net zero bollocks does my head in.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's no such
Why
thing.
under this government has the number of rape convictions and prosecutions fallen to a record low?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one of the first things I said when I came to this dispatch box as Prime Minister was that I thought that rape prosecutions and convictions were too low, and that's why we have the end-to-end rape review, and that's why we've been investing in independent sexual violence advisors and independent domestic violence advisors, another 27 million. That's why we've been investing more in the Crown Prosecution Service, another 85 million people. We're also dealing with the misery experienced by rape victims and survivors who have to hand over their mobile phones, Mr. Speaker, which I think has been one of the evidential problems that has arisen in prosecuting rape cases. But what we've also been doing, Mr. Speaker, is imposing tougher sentences for serious sexual and violent offences, and it would have been good to have some support in that from the right honourable gentleman and the benches opposite.
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, we all agree that the figures are appalling. The question is why? The government's own review makes clear that rape convictions and prosecutions have halved since 2016. Halved. We know that's nothing to do with the pandemic because this is a 5-year trend. We know it isn't because there are fewer rape cases being reported, because that number's gone up significantly. So let me return to the question that the Prime Minister hasn't answered. Why does the Prime Minister think that rape prosecutions and convictions have plummeted on his watch?
Prime Minister.
Because, Mr. Speaker, as he knows very well, because he has some experience of this matter, there are considerable evidential problems, particularly in recovering data from mobile phones, and that has been an obstacle to the speedy preparation of cases. And too often, let's be frank, too often cases go from the police to the Crown Prosecution Service not in a fit state, and too often those cases are not in a fit state when they come to court, and there is not a good enough join-up, Mr. Speaker, across the criminal justice system. And we are, and that is exactly what we are addressing, Mr. Speaker, now by our investments with our end-to-end rape review. And what would be good, Mr. Speaker, is if we could have some support from the opposition for tougher sentences for rapists and serious sexual offenders. What kind of a signal does it send when they won't even back tougher sentences, Mr. Speaker?
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister knows very well why we voted against his bill, precisely because it did more to protect statues than women. But since he's brought it up, Mr. Speaker, let's address the central question. Prime Minister, 98.4% of reported rapes don't end up in a charge. 98.4%. And therefore the question of sentence never arises in those cases. So since he's brought up the bill, it's his main defence, it seems. Can he tell me, point to what provision in the bill, what clause, what chapter, what part of that bill will do anything to change the fact that 98.4% of reported rape cases don't end in charges and don't get to sentence. Which clause, part, chapter or words in that bill point to one thing?
It's true.
Mr. Speaker, will let me point to section 106 and 107 of that bill, which Labour voted down, Mr.
Talking
Speaker,
nonsense.
which would have stopped the early release of rapists at their halfway
Early
point.
oh
And
my.
what kind of a signal, what kind of a message does that
Boris
send,
is such a
Mr. Speaker,
meme.
to people
Oh my
who
god,
commit
he asked about
crimes of rape?
conviction,
It's very, very important
not people getting
that the message
released.
should go out from this
Oh
House
my
of Commons
days.
that we will not tolerate a serious
Does Boris
sexual
know what the
violence.
difference
And
between
I'm afraid that the
conviction
right
and being
honourable
released
gentleman
for?
has not been
Like,
supporting that message. What we are
Such an
doing
idiot.
now, what we are doing now is bringing forward measures by investing in independent domestic violence, independent sexual violence advisors to ensure that victims and survivors of the crime of rape have people in whom they can confide
Such a
and
meme.
trust throughout that miserable period when they're in the criminal justice system. And another thing we're doing, Mr. Speaker, is recruiting record numbers of police officers.
Because
And
people
I'm
are
proud to
sheep.
say- and I'm proud to say,
People are sheep.
I'm proud to say
That's why.
that 40% of our new recruits are female, Mr. Speaker, which I believe will be a great consolation and use to those who are victims
Absolute
and survivors
sheeple.
of rape.
Starmer, what an appalling answer. I asked him why 98.4% of cases aren't getting into the system. He talks about sentence.
Yeah.
That is the problem. If the Prime Minister thinks that's the answer, that is why we've got these terrible rates of conviction and of prosecution. The answer is there's nothing in that bill. The truth is, victims of rape are being failed. Now, Mr. Speaker, they're not just my words, they're in the government's own report. Victims of rape are being failed. There's no escaping that appalling figure, Prime Minister. 98.4%.
Yeah, I know.
Of rape cases ending without
Keir
anybody
Starmer's
being
got such a
charged.
difficult job,
And
man.
those that do get in the system take years
Because
to
people
go
just
through.
don't listen to him
Does the
because
Prime
of
Minister
the
accept
shit
that
that
cuts to the criminal
the other
justice
guy
system
did.
have contributed to that appalling situation?
Prime Minister.
No, Mr. Speaker, because we've increased the numbers of people in the
We've
in the CPS by at
increased.
least 200, Mr. Speaker, specifically dedicated to helping to
Increased my
prosecute
arse.
the crime
No,
of
I
rape
haven't.
and sexual violence. And Mr. Speaker, we are absolutely determined to stamp it out. This is a problem that has been
Increased
going worse
shit.
because of the evidential difficulties caused by the data recovery process and the lack of unity, the lack of joined-up thinking, but in all parts of the criminal justice system. That is something that this government is now addressing by more investment, by putting more police out on the street, and also by having tougher sentences. And finally, it would be good to hear him support it.
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, I spent 5 years as Director of Public Prosecution prosecuting thousands of rape cases. I don't need lectures, but I do know the impact of cuts on our criminal justice service. The government can't make cuts, significant cuts to the Crown Prosecution Service, 25% cuts to the Ministry of Justice, close half the courts in England and Wales, yes, half the courts, and now pretend that a small budget increase will solve the problem. But, Mr. Speaker, this is more than just about cuts.
Yeah,
The
the other
rate
guy being
review is
Corbyn.
welcome, but it's weak. The
Corbyn-
Victims
the
Commissioner,
thing
the
is,
Government's
like,
Victims Commissioner,
politics is so
described the
difficult,
review as
man. Because
underwhelming.
Corbyn
They
was
could have been
good,
10 times stronger.
right? As a politician,
That
he was good.
review
It's
is
just his
littered with
past,
pilots and
man. His past
consultations
caught up with
on
him, and
proposals that
obviously
have literally
people
been
don't like
discussed
that.
for years and years. It is so
Because it ain't just about being a
unambitious.
politician anymore. It's
Mr.
about
Speaker,
being a
isn't it
fucking
the case
influencer.
that despite
Like,
these shameful figures,
hence
and
why
they are
people
shameful,
like Trump
the government
and
still isn't
Boris
showing
can
the
get into
urgency
power.
needed to tackle the epidemic of
They're
violence
not
against women and girls.
politicians. They're just
Minister.
social
No,
media
Mr. Speaker,
influencers
because we've
at this
also
point.
brought in the landmark domestic violence bill, which again it would have been good if we'd had wholehearted support from the Labour Party opposite. And Mr. Speaker, no, because this government has brought
Support
in
from the
much
Labour
tougher
Party, who
sentences for
isn't even
serious
in
sexual and violent
power. Are you
offenders. And he
fucking
can't-
kidding?
no
What are
matter
they going
how
to
much he
support you
wriggles and
with?
squirms, Mr. Speaker, he can't get away from the simple fact that on a 3-line whip, he got his party to vote against tougher sentences for serious sexual and violent offenders. That, Mr. Speaker, is weak.
Keir Starmer.
You can always tell when he's losing, Mr. Speaker. on.
On
Order.
both sides. It's a very, very emotive and important issue. I need to hear the question and the answers. I certainly don't expect shouting from the back benches.
Yeah, shut up, fucking
Mr.
Tory
Speaker, on the
backbenchers.
Prime Minister's watch, rape prosecutions convictions are at a record low. Court backlogs are at a record high. Victims are waiting longer for justice. And
Boris
criminals
just
are
does
getting
my head
away.
in, man.
This wasn't inevitable.
He's so
It's the
bad.
cost of a decade of Conservative cuts. And even now, the government isn't showing the urgency and ambition that's needed. Mr. Speaker, the Justice Secretary has done the rarest of things for this government and apologised. But I note the Prime Minister hasn't done that today. It's time he did, that he took some responsibility and backed it up with action. Will he do so?
Prime Minister.
Speaker, as I said to the right honourable gentleman, and I fought to have tougher action against rapists and sexual offenders throughout my time as Mayor of London, and of course to all the victims of rape and sexual violence, all the victims and survivors, of course, I say sorry for the trauma that they have been through, the frustration.
Sorry
that they go
doesn't
through because
fucking
of the
convict
inadequacies
people,
of the criminal
Boris.
justice system. We are fixing that.
Oh
We're
my
fixing that with
God.
by investing another £1 billion in clearing the court backlogs, in ensuring that they have people that
You
they can
literally
listen
said it
to and
yourself just
trust,
there.
who will help them
Backlogs.
through the trials.
Why
of
is there
of the
backlogs?
criminal justice experience, Mr. Speaker. But above all, we are helping them
Backlogs 'cause
by
you're a
getting
fucking
our courts
failure. Oh my
moving again.
God.
The fastest, most efficient way to do that, as he knows, is to get our country moving again, which is what we are doing with the fastest vaccination rollout anywhere.
Fastest vaccination.
In Europe.
Shut
Mr.
up.
Speaker,
Speak about
we are
something
getting on
else.
with the job, Mr. Speaker. They jabber, we
Yeah, I
jab,
can't
Mr.
really
Speaker.
use the coaster like the
dither,
dive coaster
we
track. It's very
deliver.
awkward.
They vacillate and we vaccinate, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, here goes with the fucking mantras again.
Let's
Oh
go
my
to
God.
Craig Whittaker. Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Levelling Up Fund is a superb opportunity for local areas like Calderdale Council to improve infrastructure and relieve the misery in local areas. With that aim, will my right honourable friend take a serious look at Calderdale's submission, which lacks support, has no consultation nor consensus with partners, and instead of relieving infrastructure problems, ploughs on with one of the council's failed and doomed projects, which does nothing at all to level up and has no support locally?
I thank my honourable friend for his question, and I hope very much that, and I think the Levelling Up Fund has the potential to do massive good for Calderdale and indeed the whole country. And I hope that Calderdale Council will have listened to his strictures this morning and this afternoon and will act.
They now come to the leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Mr.
trying
Speaker.
to. I'm trying to.
This morning, the Herald newspaper revealed that in the middle of the pandemic, Tory ministers secretly directed funds from an emergency COVID contract to carry out polling on the union. This evidence was uncovered in official documents submitted to the High Court, so the Prime Minister would be well advised to be very careful in his answer to this question. And it's a very simple question. Did the UK government use a £560,000 emergency COVID contract to conduct constitutional campaigning on the union?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid I'm not aware of the contract.
Oh, I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware.
What I can tell him is that I think that the union
Shut up, Boris.
and the benefits of the union have been incalculable throughout the COVID pandemic. And the vaccine rollout, which I've just
Vaccine rollout, there we go again.
Is of course something that
He's a joke. He's actually a joke.
Scotland,
Like.
they've been brewed in Oxford, bottled in Wales, rolled out throughout the UK, and I think it's a tribute to the union that he seeks to undermine.
Ian Blackford.
Prime Minister has just demonstrated, not for the first time, that he hasn't got a clue.
Yep.
Mr. Speaker, the answer to the question is yes. Whether it's redecorating the Downing Street flat or siphoning off COVID funds for political campaigning, the pattern is clear. The Tories simply can't be trusted. Because, let's be very clear as to what happened here. These emergency COVID contracts were supposed to be used for things like PPE, for our brave doctors and for nurses fighting COVID. Instead, during the height of this deadly pandemic, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster used these emergency contracts to commission
Yeah, it's just
political research. And
the
I
thing is,
quote,
like,
on
the only
attitudes
thing
to the UK Union.
that they haven't messed
What's
up
worse,
in the entire
he handed
pandemic
these lucrative
is the
contracts
vaccine
to
rollout.
long-term friends
So they just go straight
and
back to
former
the
employees.
vaccine rollout as a
In
way to
essence,
get out of other
this was
questions,
a UK
and it's.
government contract that sanctioned
But I'm sorry, but
corrupt
a
campaigning
government
Prime
that
Minister.
gets
If the Prime Minister
10%
has even a shred
of things right
credibility,
and the
will
other
he now
90% of things
to a full
wrong,
public inquiry
that's not
on
being
this
a government.
gross
That's not
misuse
being a good
of
government.
public funds.
General, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can't think of a better use of public funds than making sure that the whole of the UK fights the COVID
Better
pandemic
use of
together.
public
And that's what we do. And thanks to the UK Treasury, we were able to spend £407 billion supporting jobs and families in Scotland, Mr. Speaker. We were able to use the British Army to send vaccines throughout the whole of the UK, Mr. Speaker.
Absolute
I
idiot.
believe that the story of this last 2 years has shown the incalculable value of our union and the
Is this even
strength
gonna
of our
work as a
union,
splashdown?
and that we are better, Mr. Speaker,
I
together.
might make a different type of coaster actually. I don't know. This is kind of annoying.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's groundbreaking 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution has ambitious targets for a switch to zero-emission electric vehicles, and the UK's automotive manufacturers are ready to deliver, with vehicle manufacture taking place close to where batteries are made because of the high
was
proportion
pile of
of
crap.
electric vehicles cost
Bye
and weight
bye.
made up by the battery. Mr. Speaker, Coventry is the historic home of the car industry and the headquarters of Jaguar Land Rover.
Yeah, it's
who
literally
made
that.
the car in which the Prime
It's
Minister
literally
travelled
exactly
to
that.
Parliament today.
Keir
So
could
will he give
literally
support
ask him
to the
anything,
proposal to build a
and
gigafactory
he
at
would just
Coventry Airport?
bullshit. Just bring some random bullshit out about the vaccine rollout.
And using an electric taxi, which they thought was impossible 15 years ago. Mr.
No,
Speaker,
they
but
did
we
not
got it
think it
done,
was
and we'll
impossible
make sure
15
that, his
Where's he getting his
constituencies
information?
across the country are in the lead in building new electric vehicles for this country. And
Yeah, electric vehicles were impossible 15 years.
Mr. Speaker,
What?
in Chesham and Amersham, several people told me how they struggle week in, week out to care for a family loved one while trying to hold down a job. They told me they felt the Prime Minister wasn't interested in them. He wasn't listening to them. He didn't care about them. And Mr. Speaker,
Prime Minister don't care about no one.
aspiring working family carers aren't unique to Chesham and Amersham. There are thousands in every constituency, no doubt in every seat across the so-called Conservative heartlands. An estimated 7 million people were juggling unpaid care and jobs last year. Mr. Speaker.
I get my
So what is the
information
Prime
from
Minister going
Facebook.
to do to make these people's lives a little bit easier? When is he going to stop taking working family carers for granted?
Mr. Speaker, I salute working family carers and people who look after loved ones as they have
I salute
the
them.
pandemic. And what we have tried to do is
Salute to
just
Captain
in my
Tom
answer to
before
the
he killed him with
right honourable
COVID.
gentleman,
Like,
to
let's
look
be
after
honest.
families for the last 18 months to the best of this country.
Why don't they just roast each
Ability,
other?
supporting them,
Like, that would be so much more
with
interesting.
furlough, with all sorts of schemes, and in addition, putting unprecedented sums into social care. There is nothing any government can do. No words that I could express.
No,
that would
nothing
be
any
enough to
government would
requite
do. Oh my
the
god.
care and love that is given by family carers to those they look after.
Steve Double.
Mr. Speaker, we're currently experiencing a housing crisis in Cornwall where local people are being priced out of the market, whether to buy or rent, by prices being inflated due to the huge demand of people wanting to move to Cornwall to live or buy a holiday home. This is a long-standing problem, but in recent months it has become the worst it has ever been. As the government bring forward their reforms of the planning system, can my right honourable friend assure me and the people in Cornwall that this will not be about
What's the
building
shape of a
lots
giga? I
homes
don't
for
even
wealthy
know.
people to buy, but
Well, I'm
will
not making a
ensure
giga, I'm
that
making
the
a
people of
hyper.
Cornwall are able to access the homes that they need.
My honourable friend raises a point that has been raised repeatedly with
Raises
me
a point.
in Cornwall, and we are absolutely
You
determined
ignore
to
every
address
fucking
the
piece of
issue in
information that gets
question,
raised with
to
you,
work
Boris.
Linda Taylor, the leader of Cornwall Council, the newly Conservative Cornwall Council.
Newly
to
Conservative.
ensure that we build local homes for local people so that young people growing up in Cornwall have the chance of owning their own home.
Let's go to Julie Allen. Julie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whilst football clubs, charities, mums and dads in Sunderland and across our country were searching for that old laptop in the cupboard to give a child the data and device needed to learn during the pandemic and lockdown, the largest company in the world was throwing brand new tech into landfill. Amazon don't pay their fair share of tax, they treat their staff badly, and now they deny internet access to our poorest children. Will the Prime Minister join me today in unequivocally condemning this appalling practice by Amazon?
I was shocked and amazed to hear that computers were literally being sent to landfill in the way that the Honourable Lady describes, and I think the whole House would agree that...
Wait, he's not just like denied something? What? He's actually just admitted that he heard about it. What?
One thing that we are doing, I'm sure...
Boris admitting that he heard about something?
But one thing we are doing, to get to her second point, Mr. Speaker, is we're ensuring that tech giants and other companies pay their fair share of tax on their sales within this country, thanks to the agreement that my right honourable friend the Chancellor struck at the G7.
Robert.
Thank you, Mr.
You're not getting anyone to pay fucking taxes properly. Holy shit. You're getting paid to not pay taxes, that's what you do.
Particularly need better transport links to cope with our growing population. Will my right honourable friend therefore ensure that the Aylesbury spur of East-West Rail is approved? There's a better business case than there is for HS2, and the spur has the great advantage of being the railway we do want rather than the one that we don't.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I can confirm to my honourable friend that
they're not denying internet access. They're rephrasing
the design and construction of the Aylesbury spur, but I have to caution.
What they're actually doing is just throwing away perfectly good tech
and we need to look at the numbers to ensure
that could have been used by people in schools in the pandemics.
Let's go to John Littles. John.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Every day the Prime Minister strengthens the case for Scottish independence. His recent trade deal sees food producers in Oakland and South Perthshire subjected to unfair competition from low-welfare Australian producers, a country where animals can be transported to slaughter for 2 days in the baking heat without water. So farmers, joint seafood producers, musicians and a host of other sectors who realised his Brexit assurances were substance-free hot air. But can I ask him, when he's planning his next COVID-safe visit to Scotland, please come soon. Every visit is a tonic for us and toxic for his Scottish Tory apologists.
Prime Minister.
I can tell I don't want to disappoint the honourable gentleman, but I am seldom away from Scotland and can't wait to be back there as soon as possible, Mr. Speaker, after the record
I think that's too much of a...
by Scottish Conservatives at the recent election. But yet again, this abuse of Australia that has high animal welfare standards and a negative attitude to the opportunities that free trade offers this country and the people of Scotland. When's he going to stop running down Scottish agriculture and the potential of Scottish farming?
The Wheeler.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Would my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, join with me in thanking Derbyshire Police for their excellent work in rounding up and arresting and charging people
Is that
involved in
Teresa?
incidents of stabbing, where one young man was murdered and others badly
No,
hurt.
it's not. I thought that was
This
Theresa
murder
May,
in
man.
Swadlincote Coat, a very rare event.
I was about to say,
has
get the
caused
fuck
concern
out of that
amongst
room,
residents, but the
waste
very
of
swift action
space.
taken by our Derbyshire Police has taken the perpetrators off the street. Clearly more police in South Derbyshire would be very much welcomed by our residents.
My honourable friend is entirely right to raise the appalling murder in Swadlincote, and we're making sure, by the way, with our police and crime bill, that such crimes are.
It's like a game of take a shot every time you hear a certain phrase thing. Like, if I watched PMQs and I just took a shot every time I heard him mention the vaccine rollout, I'd be fucking smashed by the end of the PMQs.
During the Brexit referendum, the Prime Minister promised there would be no change in the
You'd
rights
literally
of
be
EU
absolutely
citizens
smashed.
in the UK. Yet in a week's time, those without settled status will lose the right to work, rent a flat, or access free healthcare. This government has demanded
You'd be an A&E, exactly.
during the Brexit
You'd be
process.
absolutely
So will he
paralytic.
now finally agree to
The
extend
guy
the
doesn't shut
deadline
up about the
for
vaccine
EU
rollout.
citizens?
Mr. Speaker, the EU settlement scheme has
Like,
been
yeah,
one of the
cool.
great successes,
Vaccine's going well. Why not do what you did with the vaccine rollout and focus on something else? Like, make something else go that good. Like, oh my god, you just don't know how to run the country, I swear.
Million or 3 million to begin with. I think that everybody knows what the deadline is. I hope people will come forward and do what
Vaccine rollout's going well because we're giving it to the NHS. The NHS knows what they're doing. Is that good shape?
Large sections of the wine near St.
I'm only building a hypercoaster, I'm not building a giga. Fuck building a giga, it's gonna take too long.
Topped up gigabit vouchers via community fibre partnerships have the potential to raise much of the £200,000 needed to address the situation, but there's a 24% shortfall. What can my right honourable friend do to assist my constituents stuck in this position?
Prime Minister. Look like it?
I thank my honourable friend, and I can tell him that BT Openreach has recently extended its offer of commercial coverage for gigabit broadband to services in his area, in the community that he mentions, and that is partly, Mr. Speaker, because of the super deduction in taxation.
I'm building a hyper, I'm not building a giga.
We were able to, my right on the
I want it to look like the top of a hyper drop.
Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission performs an important independent role in the regulation of UK elections. Whether investigating dark money or simply attempts to undermine our democracy, the role is critical in ensuring public confidence in our democratic processes. Now, with his government seeking to neuter
hyper drops are actually quite.
What exactly is the Prime Minister planning that requires an attempt for his government to be able to direct the independent regulator?
For the sake of brevity, Mr. Speaker, I think I can say absolutely nothing.
Andrew Mitchell. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Has my right honourable friend had a chance to review the recent announcement from the Congress that Britain is to cut
Sad reason, to be honest. It's not really got to do with policies. It's got to do with who can row up the sheep. Like, literally, that's what it is. Like, look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump should not have been president, and yet he became president.
Written off as well and burnt and destroyed. Does he know that the World Health Organization has said that this one act will lead to the maiming, blinding, disruption of lives and death of hundreds of thousands of people? So will my right honourable friend accept and respect the statement that Mr. Speaker made from his chair last Monday on June the 14th, that there must be a meaningful vote in this House on this matter? Will he see if it can be brought forward before the end of term and the summer recess? And if not, will he ensure that the point 7 is brought back from the start of next year?
Mr. Speaker, there will be an estimates day debate, I'm told by my right honourable friend, the Leader of the House, on
What's up, Alpha?
aid. But I must say, I just don't accept the characterisation.
Yo, Alpha, your coaster guy, does that look like a hyper?
For all his expertise, for all his learning in this matter, has just given this country and our contribution to the fight against disease around the world. In spite of all the difficulties we face, we're contributing £10 billion in ODA this year.
Is it even a hyper?
Colossal expenditure that the British state has been forced to make to look after families around the country, jobs and families around the country. And in addition to that, Mr. Speaker, we are spending £1.6 billion on supporting COVAX, £458 million supporting Gavi.
Oh, it's not even a
Important to
hyper.
remember that 1 in 3 of the COVAX vaccines that are saving lives.
It's not even a hyper. I've got to raise the drop.
No, saving lives around the world. 1 in 3 is the direct result of the actions of the UK government. I think people in this country should be very proud.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a bit too steep because it kind of looks like a giga drop rather than
Thank you,
a
Mr.
hyper
Speaker.
drop.
Yesterday was Windrush Day, the 73rd
It's
anniversary
not tall
of the
enough. I need to
arrival
make
of
it
Caribbean
taller.
people from Commonwealth countries in 1948. Yet this year, it's a reminder of the appalling failure of the government's Windrush compensation scheme, which has been disturbingly slow and extensively bureaucratic. But at least 21 people have died while waiting for justice, and only 687
So, actually, I
people
can
have
do
received
this.
any payment at all. Mr. Speaker, given the repeated delays and failures of the Home Office to provide justice for the Windrush generation, does the Prime Minister now accept this scheme must be handed over to an independent body to prevent prolonged suffering?
Yeah. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I accept the injustice that was done to the Windrush generation, and I renew the apologies on behalf of the government for our share of responsibility. And yes, I do want to make sure that the compensation scheme is accelerated. And I spoke to people responsible for distributing that scheme just the other night, Mr. Speaker. But what I also said, what I hope the House would agree, is that I hope that the name Windrush in due time will not just be associated with that injustice, though it was appalling, but will be associated with the amazing contribution and sacrifice and effort of the Windrush generation to this country. And the Windrush is a positive name for the people of this country, and that Windrush indeed, Mr. Speaker, is regarded as the Mayflower of our country.
Esther Back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When High Speed 2 was first proposed, the estimated
That look a bit
cost
better?
was £37.5 billion. The latest estimated cost is now over £150 billion and rising fast. Is there a price at which the Prime Minister would accept that High Speed 2 is no longer value for money, or is he determined to build it irrespective of whatever the final cost will be? Wouldn't it be better to put this white elephant project out of its misery? Get rid of High Speed 2 and instead deliver high speed broadband, reliable 1 gigabit capability at a fraction of the cost to every household, which would be much more useful for everyone in all our communities.
Prime Minister.
224K.
My right honourable friend is absolutely right about the importance of gigabit broadband. That's why the coverage has gone up just since I've been Prime Minister. I think from 9.
Yeah, that looks good. I like that. I like the look of that job. That actually looks kind of
this year,
cool.
and we hope to get up to 100% in the course of the next few years. I can't agree with her, however, about HS2. This House did vote for it.
But is it a 200-foot drop?
Massive amount.
It's 200 foot to this, but it's not a 200-foot drop. It needs to be a hyper. It needs to have a 200-foot
I think
drop.
even the Liberal Democrats voted for it, Mr. Speaker.
I doubt it is.
I think he voted. You wouldn't think it to judge from some of their recent campaigns, would you, Mr. Speaker? But that's the thing about the Liberal Democrats, Mr. Speaker. They can vote for one thing and then say another thing when it comes to elections.
Let's go to Bell Ribeiro Abbey. Bell.
Thank you,
Shallow?
Mr. Speaker.
I thought this looks
when the
pretty steep.
COVID-19 pandemic
It's pretty
exploded,
steep for a hyper, I
scientists
thought.
warned that with the rapid transmission, more dangerous
Oh, it's only
variants would emerge and vaccines
156.
could lose efficacy in the face of
Hypers are
mutations.
so big. How do people even build gigas? Jeez.
Testing, further lockdowns, and a recent delay to the end of restrictions, with 41 people already reported to have the more virulent Delta Plus variant.
Delta
The Prime Minister
Plus?
held his vaccine donation as putting people squarely above profit, but
Fuck
this
is
is
Delta
lousy in the
Plus?
face of the fact that intellectual property is driving global supply shortages. So does the Prime Minister understand why it's no use for the G7 to promise 1 billion doses at some point in the future when people are dying now, and the success of our vaccination
that's
program
levelling
is
out.
under threat from emerging variants now? And will he reconsider his negligible vaccine donation policy and join over 100 countries in supporting the vaccine intellectual property waiver?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I really think it is satirical.
Yeah, it does.
Say
That's
that
what classes it as the hyper.
The G7's efforts have so
It's the
far been
drop, it's not
negligible.
the actual peak.
What they agreed to Carbis Bay was another billion.
That's
on
why
top of the
stealth
billion
at
that
Fort
have already
Park
been,
is
contributed.
205.
The UK is putting in, as she
So it
knows,
can have a
100 million
200-foot
up to,
drop.
another 100 million up to June next year. And as for the points she makes about variants and vaccines, she should know that on all the advice that we have at present is that the vaccines are effective against all the variants that we can currently see.
Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister promise that the forthcoming planning bill will not restrict the right of residents to have their say over what is built in their neighbourhood?
Yes, indeed, Mr. Speaker. And what we want to ensure, yes, because we won't have it I won't have this misrepresented by the Liberal Democrats in the way that they do, and everybody will know. I won't have it misrepresented by anybody, Mr. Speaker. Because what we want to do is to ensure that we give the young people in this country the chance of home ownership, which the party opposite would ruthlessly deny them. And what we want to do...
They're making shit up. They are making shit up.
Is help young people across the country and make sure, by the way, that we relieve pressure
What the fuck
on
this
the
government thinks they're
overheating
doing, bro?
southeast,
That's
and
kind of
ensure that we
steep,
build
you know.
back
That's
better
looking more like a
across
gigger.
the whole of the UK, and that is the objective of our planning bill.
Nothing people like more than a really steep pipe coaster.
Arrangements to be made for the next business.
I mean, the shape looks good when I'm looking at it like this. It's just the shape looks a bit off when I'm looking at it like this. It's the peak, I think. The peak is a bit off. It's the peak. The peak is a bit off. Nah, that's still off. What? I just deleted that bit. There we go. Right. Are they having a break? Yeah, they are having a break. I hate the fact that you can't move this type of track around. It's so annoying. Camera, what is the camera doing? There we go. Top of a coaster has always annoyed me. It's always annoyed me trying to build the top of coasters. That's the type of shit they say, man. It actually is. The honourable mention across the way. He wants to nuke Zimbabwe. It's actually the type of shit they say. Fucking idiots, I swear. Oh, that doesn't... That's alright. I think that looks a bit better. Are they even chatting? Oh, it's not loading. There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable
I think this looks better.
for her question and for giving me the opportunity to talk about social care reform. I will start by paying tribute to carers, paid and unpaid, for all they do, looking after people in their homes and in care homes every single day with kindness and compassion. And to any who may happen to be watching or listening today, can I say thank you for what you do.
£27 direct debit, what the hell?
Over the last year in government, we have rightly focused on supporting social care through the pandemic. This has included an extra 1.8 billion of funding, sending over 2 billion items of free PPE to care providers, distributing over 120 million COVID tests to social care, and vaccinating hundreds of thousands of care home residents and most care workers. While the pandemic has posed unprecedented challenges to social care, it has also strengthened the argument for reform. And we now have the opportunity to build back better.
Looks better than it was before. I agree with that.
We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a care system for the future, and I am hugely ambitious.
They won't build a
I
care
want a
system
care
in the
that we can
future.
be confident in.
They won't build
for our
shit.
grands and granddads, mums and dads, brothers or sisters, children and
These
grandchildren,
are the
and indeed for ourselves.
Tories that
I
we're
want
dealing
people
with
to be able
here.
to get the care that they need when they need it, and to have choices, to live life to the full, way they want to, living independently and part of a community for as long as possible without facing an astronomical bill. I want to join up health and care around people so it works as one system, dedicated to meeting the needs of individuals, giving them the personal care they want and need to live their lives to the full. I want the care workforce to be properly recognised and valued for what they do, for their skills, their compassion, their commitment, and to have more training, more opportunities, and more prospects for career progression. I'm committed to supporting unpaid carers, not only in the care they provide, but also to make sure they have support for their own health and well-being, and to live their own lives as well as caring for others. We are already taking steps on the road to reform. The Health and Care Bill introduces CQC oversight of local authorities' provision of social care, and will also help join up health and social care by putting integrated care systems on a statutory footing. We are working on our long-term plan for social care, and we will be bringing forward our proposals for social care reform later this year.
Shadow Minister Liska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is 100 weeks since the Prime Minister promised to fix the crisis in social care with a plan he had already prepared to give people the dignity and security they deserve. Since then, almost 42,000 care home residents have died from COVID-19.
Right, should we ride it and see if it actually looks
2
good?
million people have applied for support but had their request refused. Tens of thousands have had to sell their homes to pay for care. Families have hit breaking point and
Riding
staff have been
time.
appallingly let down.
I know
And
track
even
view is
after
probably
all the
better,
horrors
but if
of
it's
this
smooth in
pandemic,
this, it's going to be smooth in
9
track.
out of 10 councils say they face care budget cuts this year.
So
Yet
far, the
this
top
week,
looks okay.
We learn ministers can't even be bothered to have a meeting to finally come up with the goods. That isn't delivering dignity, it is abdicating responsibility. So can I try again with the Minister? When precisely will we see the government's plan? Because a vague commitment to sometime later this year won't convince anyone after all the delays and broken promises. Will the plan include a cap on care costs so people's life savings aren't wiped out, which has been repeatedly promised, legislated for 7 years ago, but has still not been delivered? Will there be
They're all
proper
just a
proposals
pile of
for people with
crap
disabilities
talkers.
who
They're
make
just,
up
they're
a
just
third
all
of
the
the
same.
users and a half of the budget for social care, but have been entirely absent from the debate? Where's the decent workforce plan so frontline carers get the pay and conditions they deserve, and we end endemic staff shortages? And will unpaid family carers finally get the help they need, so their own health doesn't suffer and they're not forced to choose between holding down a job and caring for the people they love? Mr. Speaker, in the century of ageing, we cannot build back a better future for Britain without a decent system for social care. This is as much a part of our infrastructure as the roads and the railways. Our country urgently needs a plan. The time for excuses is over. When will the government deliver?
Did it just cut out? After all that, the stream just ended. Black. Like, I'm watching the replay, and the replay is black. Like, it's just ended. Well, I guess we know who's a Tory now. The Guardian News. Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, they're so professional. Like, They do their job really well. Like, I trust them. Like, you know, I'd vote for them every single time. You know what I mean? Absolute fucking disgrace, I swear. Oh. Come on, does the drop look decent? Yay, finally looks decent, okay. Right, looks decent. What element should I do? Should I just do a ginormous fucking hill? Or what? Like, I don't know. I am on high. I want actual texture quality to be... Does it not go any higher than high? Let's do ultra. Boom, there we go. Does ultra look any better? Still looks like shit, to be honest. Flowjector. So just like a medium-sized hill, just long and drawn out. This thing was meant to be in the ground, so I need to move it down. Yeah, like that. That's what I was planning originally. It's like it comes out of this canyon. And because you're going for a canyon, you'll get loads of air in your face, like, do you know what I mean? So it'll be absolutely intense. It's like you're going just plummeting down into a giant canyon. There you go, that looks good. I like my move. There we go. Yeah, that looks nice. Whoosh down here. Nice little ejector air time maybe into just a long drawn out bank. I don't know. I'll tell you what, whatever you guys vote for, like, whatever I see most in chat, I'll build. And I'll let you guys all decide. Maybe do some research, look at some elements, while I go make a cup of tea. Loop the loops. Just a bunch of fucking loops. I mean, we could just like sit here and just like, I can't actually do loops. What the fuck is that? Yeah, just do it again. Dink. What is that? Yeah, that's exactly what we want. Yeah, look at that. Little like fucking twisty twist. Yeah, let's test that because that's gonna work. Yeah. Just like a really low but gradual little pop of airtime, just like a little pop, and then up into a nice like bank, like a sideways bank, and then it sort of dives you down into an. That sounds good. I might do that. It's not going to make it past all three, is it? Or all four? It might do the second one, but... only just. And then it's failed this one, yeah. Yeah, these are complete trash anyway. Right. And to be fair, airtime hills are really easy to do, so I don't even need to like 1, 2, 3, 4. I could just do a 4 beat pieces for this. True. True. Might do a bigger hill then. God, my hills and shit always look so bad. Just spam this a bunch of times, why not? Does that even look good? Oh, I doubt it. Oh, it looks way too short, actually. Yep. That's way too small. That's way too small. That's tiny, bro. America's not really known for their theming, though. Like, if the UK got an RMC Raptor, Jesus, it would be some highly themed coaster, I'd say that now. Still too fucking shit. Templates would kind of be cheating, but I'd love templates in Planet Coaster. Like, you only have to make an element once, and then you can just resize it however you want, and it matches every angle. Yeah, they got a little point to them, haven't they? Like this top bit here is like got a point to it. Let me get a hyper. Yeah, I can see, like on Shambhala. I get what you mean. Shambhala. No, not a fucking bracelet. B&M. There you go. B&M coaster. You're not spell checking it for me, or what? There we go. There's no really like side on view, is there? I just want to see a side on view. It is pretty long and drawn out, to be fair. They really are long and drawn out, B&M Hypers. Yeah, they only really get up to like 45 degrees. It's pretty mad. Apparently you don't have to pay for mazes. I doubt that. I doubt that. Fort Park are fucking broke. I have no idea. I've never ridden a hypercoaster. Oh no, wait. Stealth is considered a hypercoaster. So I've only ridden one. And it's not this type of hyper, it's just a launch. Like I've not ridden anything else. Yeah, I know, they waste their money on such crap. I know exactly what you mean, they do waste their money on a lot of crap. They could have such a good hypercoaster at the back of Fort Park, man, but they just waste their money on such bullcrap investments. Mate, Black Mirror, I was so disappointed. Like, I mean, I never really got excited because I knew it was going to be a pile of crap, but... I don't think Fort Park's going to build any more coasters though, that's a sad thing. Like for a very, very long time. Yeah, and that one time they're gonna hype up the next big investment like they always do. Oh, the next big thing, and no one's gonna believe them. And then they're just gonna come into the park one day. Oh, what Jesus Christ, there's some ginormous fucking giga coaster in the back. Like, that would be so funny. Where'd this giga coaster come from? I could just see Fort Park doing that so badly. From the B&M Surf Coaster, nice. That was a good one, but the video was just... I liked the video, but I had to remove the music because it got copyrighted, so it doesn't fit anymore. Because they're just trying all they can to put the least amount of money into investing in things. Do you know what I mean? They want to make loads of money, but they don't want to put money into it. It's like, oh my god, if you want to make money, make a coaster. Everyone knows that a coaster is on the way, like we all know it's going to be one of the next big investments, like, just give us it. You've never been on a coaster, what? Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, I wouldn't want to be in Thorpe Park's position because the next big investment is make or break, I think. Like, if their next big investment doesn't work, I don't think they'll ever be getting a new big investment ever again. Like, their next investment has to work, kind of thing. The problem is though, like you said, it's not up to them, it's up to the investors. Investors ain't gonna pay for shit if they don't think it's worth it. You want a new coaster? No, you're not getting a new coaster. You can barely even make a Darren Brown ride, like, do you know what I mean? No, they'll give us another flat ride. They won't give us a coaster. We'll get Flying Fish, the animated experience or something. You thought Angry Birds was good. Now we've got Flying Fish, the animated experience. That's what it'll be. Darren Brown is good. It's just one of them that once you've done it once or well 2 or 3 times, you don't want to do it again. Like, once you've done it, you've done it. It's boring. Like, it's just like Black Mirror. Like, Black Mirror is exactly like Darren Brown. That's it. That's it. I don't know how they've gone down that route of making another Darren Brown-esque type ride that lost them so much money, and yet they're going down that route again. Like, seriously, who is your marketing team? Like, holy crap. Or who is your like investment team? Like, this, oh, they're so bad. I don't know either. They're ruining their legacy, man. They really are ruining their legacy. Ugh. How can I improve this? I don't know how I'm going to be able to improve this hill. It doesn't even look like a proper hill. The drop's okay. It just seems to seems not tall enough, doesn't it? Like it's going over too quickly, you know. No, I think the hill is a good size. It's just, I don't know. What speed does it go over? So we've got a max speed of like 71, 30 something mile an hour. Vertical G-force is not. It's not even half a G negative. So that's good. That's floater airtime right there. So. Pretty sure negative 1G is like the max that you should do. I mean, I'll make it a little bit bigger just in case, but I'd rather be too big than too small, you know. No, stealth is relevant. Swarm is relevant. Inferno is overlooked just because it's called Nemesis. If it wasn't called Nemesis, it would be one of the best rides in the UK. But people compare it to Nemesis at Alton Towers just because it's got the same name. And they're completely different rides. They're the same ride model, but they're completely different layouts, completely different rides. They're not the same premise at all. Like, do you know what I mean? People just compare them, and they're not meant to be compared. It's kind of sad, really, because it's such a great ride. they are completely different. They just wanted to run off the back of the success of Nemesis, so they called it Nemesis Inferno, but it's a completely different ride. Like, one of them's a terrain coaster, one of them's a sort of like a Batman inspired, like American Batman inspired one. That's what I'd call it. It's not, it's still not its own unique design, you know what I mean? It's a good ride though. Yeah, I think Nemesis was one of the first ones that I went on. I need to exaggerate the egg shape because when I smooth it, it's gonna ruin it. So yeah. Alright, I'll see ya Alpha. Cheers for joining. Are you subscribed to the other channel, by the way, before you go? Nice. Better. It's better. It's got a nice little egg shape, so. I think this needs to be brought down a bit. It's because it's missing that kick. Yeah, they've been removing a lot, that company. To be honest, I should just get rid of Colossus at Fort Park and replace it with something else. Like, it rides awful, man. It's a good ride, it's such bad comfort, man. It just bangs your head around. It's so old. And plus, we've already got another 10 looper at Flamingo Land. No one's going to be going to Fort Park to ride a 10 looper anymore, like. remove it, put something else. Do you know what I mean? Give me that better egg shape, come on. Still gonna have a really fast, isn't it? Like, yeah, I've been Friday nights. It's quite fun. Went with my girlfriend, I think 2 years in a row now. I think what's throwing me off is this side is way too steep. This side's okay, but that side's way too steep. I think that's what's throwing me off. Let me just loosen this side a bit. Still looking a bit steep in it. A little bit better. It's like this side looks good, and this side is actually looking decent now. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's ride it. It's just a bit. It's just throwing me off. It's just not quite what I expected it to be, you know. The one gripe about this coaster builder is why couldn't they code, right? If I highlight this, why couldn't they code, right, me to drag this entire section this way? Do you know what I mean? Like we can move it, you know, up and down. We can move it left and right. Why can't we move it forward and backwards? Like that annoyed me about this. Do you know what I mean? Like. Yeah, it is looking. This side's looking good. It's just this side. Yeah, that's why I've put it to like 50 degrees. It doesn't need to be the 50 degrees. Why is it 90? Why can't I copy and paste? Oh, hey, Hypercoast is so much, man. Just do my head in. So, can I just like kill the people? Banking offset, like. Ginormous like 0G stall, why not? Why fucking not, right? Yeah, because that's going to be safe at that speed, isn't it? It's so annoying, like. Watch that look fun to ride as well. Lol. Ah, it's as far back as I can go along. No, I don't even have to do a drop, do I? I can just cheat. Oh, look at this conveniently sized mountain that's appeared here. The mountain takes a bit of time to grow, but trust me, there is a mountain here. you just haven't quite seen it yet. Oh no, look at the convenient mountains appeared out of nowhere. Jeez, wow, who could have ever guessed that? Yeah, welcome back. Convenient mountain has appeared out of nowhere, so, you know, looks like I'm not gonna need to even build a drop. Yeah, that looks cool, whatever. Kind of looks like a pile of shit, to be honest. Not gonna lie. Yeah, everything I make's jittery. I don't know why you guys watch me, like, I'm really bad Planet Coaster player. It's not too bad now. Yeah, 3 Gs, that's fine. 3 Gs is solid. It's only 1 AM. Jeez, I thought it was going to be like 4 AM when I looked at the clock then. It's not. Oh jeez, that's a bit of a impact. It's a bit of an impact, that, you know. It's although if the G-force looked fine, I guess. I don't know. What does the G-force even look like? Three Gs? It's quite strong 3 Gs actually. I think that's a bit strong in it. Building big coasters like this is just kind of annoying, yeah. Eat. Oh. What can I do after this? No idea. Just yeet it around like this, you know. Why not give it a fucking barrel roll? Why not? That looks exactly like a ride I would like to get on. Yeah, maybe like a triple down or something. Or or maybe just a double down would do. Does that had a slight curve the whole time. Oh, it's had a slight curve the whole time. Great. Great. I think a double down will work actually. Long drawn out speed here. Oh, this actually kind of works. Yeah, that works because it's coming over here with a bit of speed and it's going to gain even more. You're going to get a nice ejector here and then you're going to get absolutely launched over here. Well, this is more floater, that's not ejector. This will be ejector, but that'll be floater. Still be quite good though. Let's try. No time to spam smooth. Just hope it fucking works. I'm worried about the G-forces in this section. Oh, undo that. The G-force in this section will probably be quite intense. Because you got to think, you're coming all the way down from here, you're going to have so much speed here. I don't know, hopefully it'll work out. Let me give it a little test before I smooth it. Keep an eye on the G-force, see what it maxes out at. I think anything over 4 Gs is probably a bit too much. Ah! 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 Fuck! Jesus Christ! What was that? What the fuck? Oh, my leg! Ow. Oh, I just got the biggest cramp of my life. Ow. I didn't even see what G-force that was because I was too busy in pain. it's only 3 Gs, that's good. Oh, my leg, man. Oh, it's the most painful thing, man. Oh, my hamstring just cramped up like real bad. That's like the most intense cramp I've had in a long time. I want to do some custom supports for this eventually, but you know, not going to be able to, am I? God, I'd love to have the time to be able to do like 1 meter pieces, but I just don't, man. Like, my life's too busy. It's the first time I've even got on Planet Coaster in like 3 or 4 months. Like, honestly. My plan wasn't even to come on and build a new one today. My plan was to come on and work on one that I'd already built. Because I've already built a hypercoaster on the Fort Park world. It's just crap, man. That looks so tiny, like this bit compared. So the G-forces aren't too much. Negative 0.9, that's a bit intense, but you know, we can leave it like that. That's pretty smooth actually, I like that. I just need to put some like trim brakes here. Just need to put set trims, minimum trims. Yeah, that's made it more bearable. Looks better. I think that's already kind of smooth enough. So yeah. Right, now I need to pick a color scheme and do some custom supports. Alright, Alright, see ya, Bling. Just for stopping by. No, because G-force is like what you need to look at, really. Because over here and over here, these are really shallow hills. Like, this is quite a sharp hill, so that's why it was like a 0.9 like G-force all of a sudden. So like, if you have a look at the G-force, I'll pause it when it goes over actually. Because now that we've got the trims there, it should be alright. Dink 0.7. Maxed out at like almost 0.7, which is like sort of the most you want really. And then that one was fine, that's only 0.3, so that's not too bad. And this one here is 0.2. Oh no, it's not even 0, is it? That's fucking just, that's just floater. There you go, there we go, that was 0 point something. This is 3.5 is perfectly fine. And that's barely even floater airtime, that. So it's alright. Right, now pick a colour scheme. What should the colour scheme be? It's like rocky look, to be honest. It's like you're going into a canyon, innit? So that's the kind of rocky look I like. This back here is all going to be covered by trees anyway, so I don't need to do much there. I might make this a lake actually, just by pushing it down a bit more. Oh, any suggestions? Okay, that's pretty good. It's gonna be like a quarry, like forest type area. I think that'll look quite good. Oh yeah, I need to pick my fucking colour scheme first. Track colour? No, I'm not doing an aqua. I'm doing like a red quarry theme. Let's do it like this. What's that? Black spine, red track? That looks cool. Yeah, red track, black spine. What do B&M Hyper things look like? Supports. Are they an A? Or are they like straight up with an angle? Okay, the hills are straight up with an angle, okay. And then the rest of it's an A. Like the drop. That's too big, I need this one now. No, that bollocksy crap. Not much choice, is there? That's all we kind of have, is this. Does that look like it? I just can't even tell. Oh no, they are right near the top. And they're not quite that steep. Maybe like this steep. Yeah, maybe a little bit lower. Put it about there. That's probably about right. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17, 18. 18, half of 18 is 9, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to put it on number 8, which is like here. Actually no, I'm going to put it on this one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in between them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's got to be here. Be about here. Yeah, okay, that looks pretty cool. And then I need like a nice big one here. Wait, how does it even work? I'm trying to reference Shambhala's drop. So it's got two really close together. Got one right at the top though, which I just don't want to put in. How far back would I have to do it to do one at the top? 1, 2. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd only have to move it back a little bit. I'd only literally have to move it back to like here for it to look even. And then I can have one at the top. Yeah, then I'll have one right at the peak here and one here. That'll do. The one right at the peak though, like, is that? Yeah, that's still a single. So. One, two, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, literally right at the peak one here. Just here. So we're going to have one attached roughly like here. And it's going to be an A-frame tilting back to here. And then one roughly like down here. Does the A-frame connect to it though? I don't know how... Oh yeah, the A-frame does connect. I can see it there. The A-frame connects to this one. Oh, it doesn't connect directly to it, it just comes off of it, okay. Don't know why I'm fussed so much, it's not a recreation, I'm not recreating anything. think this looks alright. Like, I'm not trying to copy Shambhala's drop, but I'm trying to reference it quite heavily. Yeah, so it does attach together. Okay, and they don't have cross beams. Okay, good to know. I mean, it's not exactly like a Shambhala recreation or anything, it's just they don't have cross beams. It doesn't need to actually be that wide, it can be quite a bit closer. Does that even look good? It doesn't even look good, it looks like shit. Just fucking zoom into the thing I'm trying to click on. Holy crap, man. There we go. It'll do. It'll do. Oh, autosave. Fuck are you doing, autosave? That's awful. Good actually, I think. Excuse me. What is it? Oh, there we go. I was like, why? Being all spazzy. I need some big ass chunky foundation, like the biggest chunkiest foundation that I can possibly put. That's pretty big. What else do I have that's big? Oh, that's too big. That's too big. What about this? Where's the other one? I saw we had a bigger one of these. Oh, we do. Oh no, we don't. That is the biggest. So that's the biggest. No, that's big. I need to put a big ass concrete block on it. I got a big ass concrete block. What's the biggest ass concrete block? There you go. That's what I need. To make it look nice and sturdy. No, they're not this big though, are they? They are actually kind of maybe this big. Kind of look more like circle foundation. Like, where's the circle foundations at? Ain't no circle foundations. It's so dead. saving already. Fucking hell. Right, I'm getting off. Please save this. Just create a new.